For my polygons project, I investigated the BPA content in thermal paper over the last few months. So for a brief background, BPA is an industrial chemical used in several consumer products, including thermal papers, such as receipts and boarding passes. It is also an endocrine disruptor, meaning it mimics the chemical structure of a hormone known as estradiol, disrupting the delicate balance of hormones in the body and creating unwanted cellular responses. I have reason to believe that this is a major concern because one of the ways we are exposed to BPA is through the skin. Why this is relevant is because hand sanitizer products contain chemicals that can enhance up to 100-fold the amount of BPA that can penetrate the skin and enter the bloodstream. And because hand sanitizers were used extensively over the pandemic, this may have exposed the population to elevated levels of BPA. To investigate this issue, the original plan was to develop a way to mitigate the penetration process with the help of either dried rice husk or magnetic chitosan. This was because the aforementioned substances were shown to be able to remove BPA from environments through adsorption. The plan to apply this method into hand sanitizer solutions, however, turned out to be unsuccessful during pre-trials, most likely due to the fact that hand sanitizer medium was not conducive to the adsorption process. Instead, I collected a few thermal paper samples and compared their BPA content using a ferric chloride as a colorimetric assay. To skip straight to the results, the experiment showed a significant enough difference in BPA content when comparing the control to the thermal paper samples. When comparing the thermal paper samples among themselves, however, the variance in the data was too large to draw any definitive conclusions, despite the fact that the averages did noticeably vary between the samples. I do sincerely hope, however, that this presentation will motivate others to further investigate this concern. Ultimately, the goal of the experiment was to be able to help consumers make more informed decisions. Thank you.
Hey guys, this is Janani, and I'm not showing any presentation right now, so you probably have to bear with my face for the next few minutes. So let me talk about my project that I did, and it's about emotional intelligence. And what did I do in this project was basically to understand the current emotional status of people. For that, I included a survey, and this had probably 20-25 questions that questioned people's emotional intelligence that they have through social media and the people around them. So there's an analysis part, and there's so many unexpected um, thoughts that came to me, which I named it as the strongest emotion that people could ever experience. That I said, the emotional pain, that is something I felt to be the strongest emotion that people experience. But when I was analyzing the paper, I figured out that it was actually a lot true, that people experience a lot of pain, emotional pain through people, and they may want to take a break from people around them. So I name it as the deadliest and darkest combination, deadliest and the darkest combination of emotion that people could ever experience. And apart from that, I had lots of questions about memory and emotion. There's linking between memory and emotion. So like you remember events from the past, like you have memories stored in your brain. Do you also have emotions stored like that? Or is it something that you don't have access to? So I say that it is the emotion that brings to you a collection of memories. And apart from that, a memory can be anything. It can be positive, it can be negative. Yeah, definitely emotion. It has a wide variety of um, um, feelings to it. So yeah, apart from that, there's one more step that I really thought which is necessary to talk about was perception of emotions. Even before that, there's another step that called as perception of thought. Without perception of thought, I think there's no purpose of perception of emotion, because after these two perception happens, there is an action. There is an action to your emotions that you experience. And I say that um, the emotional reactions that you have to the situations you face are the progressions that you're making to build your life. So you don't want to act out of emotion sometimes without even the perception of emotion. That probably might create another memory that you might regret in the future. So that is not what is actually needed. So you must have two perception, that is perception of thought and perception of emotion before you do any action. So these were the stuff that I talked about in my project. And thank you so much for listening to me.
My research project is based on the Alzheimer's disease, which is basically a common form of dementia caused because of the death of brain cells, ultimately leading to memory loss. It has been accounting for about 60 to 80% of the cases solely in the United States. Research suggests that AD has a large genetic component and usually affects people over the age of 65. However, environmental modifiable risk factors can also affect the risk of Alzheimer's. Recent research has called to attention to how type 2 diabetes and coronary heart disease surgeries directly relate to AD. Usually, late onset AD is caused due to a mutation in the APOE gene on chromosome 19. This gene is responsible for making the protein that carries cholesterol in the bloodstream. But APOE4 gene is said to increase a person's risk of acquiring the disease. However, there's still a lot of research yet to be done to confirm this. Apart from the common genetic factors, research has shown a positive relationship between cardiovascular diseases and AD. Type 2 diabetes is characterized by the inability to produce or respond to insulin properly. Research has shown a correlation between type 2 diabetes and AD. Ott et al. Investigated this in a population of elderly subjects in Netherlands and concluded that type 2 diabetes almost doubles the risk of AD. Moreover, heart surgeries for cardiovascular diseases are also linked with AD. Heart bypass surgeries are used to improve the blood flow to one's heart after the arteries have been blocked by taking blood vessels from another area of the body and using it as a substitute for the blocked artery to improve the supply of oxygenated blood to the heart. There's also an alternative to surgically improving one's blood flow, which is known as angioplasty, wherein the blocked artery is widened so that the blood can get to the heart. To explore this link, different concentrations of amyloid beta peptide and tau, along with levels of S100 beta present in the cerebrospinal fluid, which serves as an indicator of cerebral injury, were measured in a cerebrospinal fluid before and after the patient underwent bypass surgeries. The researchers observed that there was a severe rise in the level of S100 beta 1 week after the surgery. They also noted that the level of amyloid beta peptide decreased significantly and the concentration of tau increased over the 6 months after surgery. These findings suggested that post-surgical cognitive impairment connected to these changes in biomarkers are similar to that seen in AD, and a link can be made. There is strong evidence that cardiovascular risk factors such as diabetes and coronary heart diseases can contribute to Alzheimer's disease risk. Thus, future research studies investigating the biological mechanisms that link bypass surgeries and other cardiovascular diseases with Alzheimer's are warranted. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Pryn. I'm currently a senior at International School, Bangkok. Over the summer, I traveled to Dakjing, Laos to conduct a research project called The Life for Life. Dakjing is a small remote town with the population of 26,499 people and is located in the province of Sekong. Dakjing is considered to be a rural and undeveloped, with about 69.2% of the land being without connecting roads. As a result, the main issues that the villagers of Dakjing experiences are limited access to electricity, education, poor sanitation, and poverty. To address the problem that these villagers faces, I decided to conduct and engineer and assemble a solar power electrical battery with the help from Praku Wimon, a monk and head of school in Ubon Ratchathani. These Life for Life kits came equipped with solar panels, a battery, and a USB charger, and an LED light. The aim of my project is to investigate how impactful my Life for Life kits are in helping the villagers to improve their quality of life. For this project, I traveled to Dokjingjian and installed batteries myself and explain the electrical engineering behind the equipment to the villagers so that they have a clear understanding of the kits themselves. Once I handed these kits out to 100 families, I then collected data through written surveys and various interviews I conducted with the villagers in Dokjing from the help of my translator. When I reviewed the data I collected, I noticed many positive feedback. For example, many respondents noted that solar power light gave them extra time at night to do work or to study, and this made their day to become more productive. Well, secondly, they stated that the minority of the villagers with cell phones were able to use their technology more confidently since they were less worried about the batteries running out. Previously, these villagers have to walk miles into the town or the village town in order to recharge their phones. So this USB charger that came with the kits were incredibly useful and increased their connections to the rest of the world. All told, it was clear that all the low-cost investment in renewable energy can have far-reaching benefits for the areas that have limited access to electricity. My experience living with the villagers and observing their unique ways of life inspired me to conduct a second autoethnography research project investigating the cultures of Dokjing, Laos. In the second research project, I aim to help others understand the cultures of the region from my first-hand account. The main goal for both of the projects is to understand that there are still parts of the world that are totally disconnected from modern technology. On the one hand, these cultures suffer from lacking of electricity or lacking of opportunities, pretty much falling into this poverty trap. But a simple low-cost solution like my Life for Life kits can have a huge impact towards these group of people. On the other hand, their isolation from the modern world result in a beautiful and unique cultures which we should try to understand and protect as these places advance technologically.
My research project is a sports analytics project where I studied how serving, serve receive, and setter strategy in elite youth volleyball is related to win. The research questions I answered were, how important is serve and serve receive in elite youth volleyball? Are teams that are better in serve and serve receive more likely to win the games? In serve receive, how do setters distribute their sets, which are the most effective? And how are different middle sets used in serve receive and which are the most effective? My hypothesis was that teams that are better at serve and serve receive were more likely to win, and the most effective middle set would be a slide. I found that teams that scored a higher percentage of their points from aces, meaning that they served the ball and the other team was unable to get a second touch on it versus their opponent, were 1.2 times more likely to win the set, and teams with better serve receive ratings than their opponent were 1.47 times more likely to win the set. I also found that outside hitters were given the highest percentage of sets, but middle hitters were the most effective. Of middle sets, ones, which is the lowest set right in front of the setter, were the most common, but 32s, which are further away and higher, were the most effective. This disproves my hypothesis and can be valuable information for teams. 32s are not as common of a middle set because the ideology typically is the lower the set, the better. These findings can help teams with prioritizing practice time because it is clear that serve and serve receive are important to winning, and the more effective middle sets like 32s can be prioritized over lower effective sets like slides. To continue this research, another researcher can look at a bigger data set and find the most effective set for each position.
Hi, my name is Natalie Phan, and I'm presenting on the associations between sleep, anxiety, and depression symptomology in young versus older adults. With depression and anxiety rates increasing substantially, the need to determine causes of the mental health crisis is critical. With sleep durations also decreasing in adolescents and adults, a correlation can be suspected between sleep deprivation and higher levels of anxiety and depression. While sleep duration is associated with increased risk for depression and anxiety, it's currently unknown if these associations present the same risk for adults of different ages. With my mentor, Jessica Sperber, we leveraged data from a publicly available dataset obtained from ICPSR from a study conducted by Dickinson and other contributors in 2017. Using a large sample of participants at different ages and stages of adulthood, the study previously reported no differences in the associations between sleep, anxiety, and depression in young adults recruited from a college campus compared to older adults recruited from Amazon's Mechanical Turk. However, this analysis was limited in that it did not account for older community members included in the college-age sample and college-age adults included in the MTurk sample. Reanalysis of this data was used to test the robustness of these original findings. With this data, we analyzed correlations between sleep anxiety and depression levels of younger adults aged 18 to 22 and older adults aged 22 to 70, regardless of where they were recruited from. The analysis was conducted using data. By changing how the two groups are classified, we hypothesized that we would see higher levels of depression and anxiety with poorer sleep in young adults compared to older adults. We found a significant correlation between sleep duration and depression of -0.08 and between sleep duration and anxiety of -0.19 if the age of the participant was less than or equal to 22. Among the participants older than 22, a statistically significant negative correlation of -0.17 and -0.24 was found between sleep and depression and sleep and anxiety, respectively. Essentially, we found that sleep deprivation affects older adults more than it affects younger adults. Future direction of this finding could include why this occurs and whether or not the two age categories should continue to be grouped together when recommending sleep duration. I'd like to thank Polygens and my mentor, Jessica Sperber, for their support and their guidance. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Aiden Shirley, and I wish to help people learn what it means to need to exercise. As we go about our lives, we tend to not do what we need to. Our bodies lose the energy they need, their muscles will atrophy. This all accumulates through multiple things you do with your life, such as having a sedentary lifestyle of sitting around on your couch watching TV. While this isn't bad per se, we just need to do more. It also adds into the fact that you tend to work 260 days per year, 5 days a week, 40 hours, a 9-to-5 job. This typically involves a job where you sit in front of a computer and not something like a construction job where you will exercise and get regular motion and physical activity. We need physical activity to survive. Without it, we are unable to function in the ways that we need to. Our heart is weaker, our lungs are not as efficient, even our vascular system can't do what it needs to. So you need to exercise, to work out a mile a day. Get your heart pumping, will make your body stronger, will make you last longer, for lack of a better word. Because after 60 and you still haven't exercised, it's very hard to put your body into motion, to get your body to work, for lack of better words, and to get your body to be able to do what it wants, to play with grandchildren, to play with your own children. So if you want to have a life where you're able to function after 60, you need to exercise throughout your life. Through your 30s, where you lose the prime of your life, through your 40s, through your 50s, doing whatever it can to help yourself be able to do what you want when you retire in your twilight years, and not have to live in a nursing home, be on life support, and just have to rely on your children. So what I have to say is work out, help yourself, move your body, do what needs to be done so you can have a better life after 60.
Hi, my name is Shrihan Nagarajan, a student at Doherty Valley High School. I worked with my mentor Doug in creating this research website. Information about the mechanical engineering systems involved in modern cars is often spread across various locations, making it a complex task for someone to fully understand how a modern car is engineered to work. This website solves that problem by providing an extensive variety of information on the complex engineering aspects that form a modern car, all in one fun and engaging platform. This is my research website called Learn Your Car. On the homepage of this website, you'll see the 3 different sections that a modern car consists of: the powertrain, chassis, as well as the bodywork elements. To give you a short tour of how this website works, I'll focus on the powertrain section. A modern car consists of three powertrains: gas-powered, hybrid, and electric. If I click on gas powertrain, you'll see a visual diagram of that powertrain with all its systems and components labeled. As an example, let's say that a user wants to learn more about the car's engine. They can navigate to the engine page and find the four main cycles of an engine, the exploratory of the engine, detailed descriptions of each component that is available across all modern car engines, and more. Incidentally, if they want to learn more about a hybrid car's engine, they can click on a button that brings them to the hybrid powertrain section. With three available hybrid powertrains, they can click on the plug-in hybrid powertrain, for example, which brings them to three layouts of a plug-in hybrid car. If they click on series, for example, and want to learn more about the engine in that powertrain layout, they'll be navigated back to the engine page as we saw earlier. As a hybrid car's engine is essentially the same as a gas powertrain's engine with varying differences. This shows how the website is organized. The powertrain section connects the different car components like the engine and electric motors together with detailed descriptions on its features as well as how it's adapted to that specific type of powertrain. The same approach applies to the bodywork elements as well as the chassis section of this website as well. Regardless of the background knowledge on cars, the reader using this website can very easily understand the different segments of a modern car and how it all works together. Thank you.
Have you seen the TikTok trend, sunscreen for clear glass skin? How often do you wear sunscreen? Hourly? Daily? Rarely? Melanoma, one of the deadliest types of skin cancers, impacts more than 132,000 people annually. And experts estimate an increase in its incidence with further depletion of the ozone layer, as chronic exposure to UV radiation can cause melanoma development. However, in addition to UV exposure, an individual's genetic traits can contribute to development as well. Although melanoma is the most prevalent among white populations with relatively lighter skin pigmentation, Black populations have the lowest survival rates. Three main factors driving this disparity are financial barriers, educational inequities, and, most importantly, the false sense of melanoma immunity among Black populations. Public health interventions target white populations for their prevalence, and when paired with these three factors, lead to decreased access to healthcare, lower rates of self-diagnosis, and the undermining of melanoma prevention through sunscreen use. In order to decrease this health gap, public health interventions regarding melanoma, like increased education and sunscreen availability, must include Black populations, specifically children, as damage from UV radiation is likely to occur before 20 years of age. To directly address this issue, I wrote a paper with Polygens summarizing racial misconception and disparities and their impacts on melanoma. I used it to facilitate a collaboration with a major cosmetic company, resulting in a donation of around 300 sunscreen bottles to a children-focused nonprofit in Nigeria. Currently, I'm working on writing a children's book regarding universal sunscreen to further spread awareness. By encouraging universal sun protection regardless of race, we can help protect the next generation from the devastations of melanoma skin cancer. And, of course, help our Gen Z achieve clear glass skin. Thank you.